Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to head over to Hong Kong once again for the first time in what feels like a good little while. Now, we're going to return to a brewery that has featured on the channel a couple of times before, both when it comes to sit-down reviews and out-and-about videos. But the beer that we're looking at today is a style that I haven't had from these guys before. It's from one of their limited edition series, and this particular series of beers is quite pioneering when it comes to the Asian craft beer scene generally. And the beer itself is supposed to be quite nice. It's quite unique compared to what I've had in this particular style category before, and my past experiences with this brewery have always been very positive as well. So needless to say, I'm very, very curious to see what this one is going to have in store for us. Hopefully it's another good beer, hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and as always I hope that you guys watching enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this review then, like I said, we are going to return to Hong Kong. To be specific, we are going to go to the Wong, Chuk area, which is in the southern part of Hong Kong Island, and that means that we're going to have a look at another beer from the wonderful Young Master. So this particular beer is called Fox's Trot. It comes in at 7% ABV. It's part of their Days of Being Wild series, and they're describing this one as a wild ale with pink peppercorn and lemon, and then it's aged in wine barrels. So yeah, it's bottle number 8 of 400 apparently, so a very, very limited edition one this. But this is a beer that I picked up at Second Draft, one of their pubs that they have, the one right next to Victoria Park. I did film an out and about video there, which was really nice actually. You'll see that video fairly soon. I'm not sure whether before or after this one, but yeah, that was the point at which I bought this beer. And I just thought it sounded really interesting. A wee bit more expensive, but definitely cool to try a beer from one of the first kind of fodder and barrel aging programs in Asia. So yeah, that was the main motivation behind getting this one. But yeah, let's crack on then and see what this beer is going to have in store for us. Definitely cool to return to Young Master and do a sit-down review for the first time, I think, in about 3 years or something like that. But yeah, as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting though, just fast forward. All the usual links can be found in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Young Master before, and we will no doubt add more to that list at some point in the near future. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support that you give is massively appreciated. And remember, you can go into the channel homepage and search for beer using the geography tagging system. So yeah, go into the homepage, use the search bar, put your hometown, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever you like in there. If I've reviewed beers from the area that you search for, they will pop up. Failing that though, you can check out the playlist of beers from different countries. You'll find this one in the Hong Kong playlist. It has its own separate playlist rather than being part of the Chinese playlist. So yeah, you can check that out. And you can check out the playlist of beers from other countries as well. Massive shout out in this video, while I remember too, to Luigi Corraduzza, a legend of the Hong Kong beer scene. He runs the Instagram page Luigi Drinks and does some really nice beer reviews as well. Lovely guy, and you will see him featured in a few of my out and about videos that I made in Hong Kong as well. But in the meantime, let's go on and we'll chat a little bit about Young Master Brewery before we taste this beer. So yeah, Young Master Brewery was founded back in 2013 by Rohit Dugar, who comes from New Delhi in India. So he moved from New York to Hong Kong in 2011 and worked for Goldman Sachs before he decided to quit and found his own microbrewery. So he was joined at the brewery by German brewer Ulrich Altbauer, who had an extensive experience of brewing in China, and he was the master brewer for a number of years, but sadly died in 2016. These days though, the current brew team is Edwin and Brian, whom have both worked in the brewery for a good number of years and have been developing a lot of the different things that they've been doing now. But the first brewery they had was in Ap Lei Chau, and this facility had a 10 hectolitre brew house and acted as their main production until mid-2016, but they opened up a new brewery in Wong Chuk with a 40 hectolitre brew house from GEA in Germany, as well as having a larger space for barrel aging and a fodder for producing different sour beers. And this apparently was the first for any brewery in Asia. These guys brought the first fodders over there to play around with. The other brewery I know that is quite pioneering in this area would be Shikokogen Beer over in Japan. So yeah, Young Master and Shikokogen Beer are the kind of pioneers of the kind of fodder sours, if you like, in Asia, which is quite interesting. But apparently they brew around 15,000 litres per month, at the moment. They've got several tap rooms these days as well, and restaurants. This includes TAP, the Ale Project in Mongkok. There used to be another one of those somewhere else as well, if I remember correctly. There's also Second Draft at Victoria Park, which is kind of the OG tap room that these guys have. There is Pub 1842 in Central, which is like a little standing bar. There's Alvy's in Kennedy Town, and they also have a bar called The Guild down in Singapore. But these guys are the largest brewery by volume in Hong Kong these days, and also the most decorated brewery too. But as of May 2023, these guys have produced around 230 different kinds of beer. They employ over 20 people, and like I say, they are a very respected name when it comes to the Hong Kong craft beer scene. I was very impressed with their beers the first time I tried them. It was an Imperial Stout that I tried originally, and then I got to try a few of their other things when I went to visit Second Draft. So you'll see that video at some point around the same time as this one, as I mentioned earlier. But yeah, that is everything I can really tell you about Young Master Brewery for the moment. If you want to learn more, again, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a wee bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's go on and actually have a little look at the beer itself. So I'll just like to have a little closer look at the artwork of this one then before we open it up. You can see the fox just having a wee trot around there. You can see at the top of the bottle there is the Young Master symbol, the Chinese characters of course, that's also on the back. Camera on this phone is of course not quite as good as my regular one, so my apologies for that. But yeah, you can see also the Young Master bottle cap, but I think this got a little bit mashed when I was bringing it back from Hong Kong in the plane. But like we said earlier, this one comes in at 7% ABV. It's a wild ale with pink peppercorn and lemon wine barrel aged. I'm guessing it'll be white wine barrel aged. But bottle number 8 of 400, which I think is pretty cool. So I'm guessing I probably will need to keep this one, because I think that's pretty cool. But it tells you on the back here, an exploration of a menagerie of botanical scents. Fox's Trot is an ode to our most primeval sense, as if animating a wild fox into a choreographed trot. All Fraction animated series animates muscles, incites emotions, and imprints memories. It has boozy, floral and brutish top notes from pink peppercorns and bracingly fresh whiff of lemon peel. Underneath these vibrant notes are baser elements from a feral collusion between wood and yeast, attesting that fair needs foul. Felled trees, earthy leather, sour butter and dank musk, all daring to smell life like it truly is. So yeah, it says it's best before July of 2027. So yeah, kind of cool actually. I don't know exactly when they would have bottled this or whatever, or how they've calculated that, but yeah, should be pretty nice, this one. Like I said, this beer I believe cost me, I want to say it was like 180, I want to say it was 180 Hong Kong dollars, which is maybe about £18 sterling, so somewhere in the region of like, yeah, €20, $22 or something like that. But this was one of these, you know, fuck it, why not moments, I have to say. So yeah, just went for it and thought, you know, it'd be kind of cool to bring something nice back from Hong Kong. But yeah, actually I think I just told you lies in the video a wee minute ago. I did review a very nice Imperial Stout that I bought from Hong Kong as well. I got given a few beers, so telling you lies that I hadn't reviewed anything from Hong Kong in a wee while. Forgetting that, too many beers these days. But yeah, 7% wild ale this one. Let's get it out, get on with the tasting and see what it's all about. The Fox's Trot from Young Master in Hong Kong. A little bit of smoke on the opening there. Not sure how well you guys can see it, but let's do this. Ah, that looks pretty nice, I have to say. I've maybe got about a third of the bottle out and into the glass at the moment. But yeah, let's have a wee look at this guy. So, before the head disappears, you can see that this beer is poured with about a half finger of a frothy, I would say, I would actually say perfect white head on this one. That is going to fade away to be a very thin foamy layer quite quickly, but leave a nice kind of foamy ring around the edge of the glass. For some reason, I did wash this glass before I brought it onto the video, so I'm not sure. It could just be the fact that the beer's kind of fermenting away in the bottle. These beers, of course, do age if you've got Britannomyces and stuff involved in it. It could just be something to do with that. But yeah, quite a little bit of carbonation sticking to the glass there. I'm not sure how well you're going to see that on the camera, but yeah, you can see the head has faded away to be a thin foamy layer. nice ring around the edge of the glass there. And yeah, it does look nice. A little bit of steady carbonation just going up toward the bottom of the head. But overall, it does look pretty nice, this one. In terms of its colour, a plain kind of golden straw colour. It's almost the same colour as like a German Helles Lager or something like that. So remember, the colour of your beer depends on a few things. One, the type of malts that you use. This goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. Two, length of your wort boil is also going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker colour of beer. But any barrel aging you do or adjuncts you put in will affect the colour of the beer as well. But yeah, I think when it comes to this one, you know, peppercorns I don't think are going to affect it too much. The lemon peel maybe a little bit, and then I suspect from the colour of this it's probably white wine barrel aged. So yeah, not surprised that it's a kind of golden yellow colour, to be honest with you. Yeah, looks pretty good, this one. Nothing untoward about it, a little bit of natural haze. Let's have a wee look at the aroma and just see what this beer is all about. Let's do this. That's quite interesting. First impression of this one is, yeah, it's quite, you know, it's not overly kind of pungent in its sourness, actually, or its wildness. It is more kind of like, you know, they're saying on the bottle, it is definitely more kind of musty. It's got a little bit of hoppy character to it. There's a little bit of fruitiness and sourness coming out of it. But it's one of these beers, I think, that you need to kind of just sort of sip on and let it open up and enjoy the aroma a little bit more, to be honest with you. It's not going to jump out of the glass and kind of, you know, kick you in the balls or anything like this. It's kind of, it is more going to just take a little bit of time to evolve. But I will say something. As soon as I stuck my nose in the glass there, you could smell the peppercorns in this one. And I love, you know, one thing I do love with a steak, I love peppercorn sauce and steak. It's beautiful. And you can smell the more that this beer sits, you get more and more of the kind of dry peppercorns coming out of this one, absolutely. But let's try and break this beer down a little bit more and just describe it for you a bit in depth. So we'll sugar the beer up a wee bit and then let it settle and see what we get. So, the backbone of this beer, you absolutely have some of that nice kind of smooth, what I suspect is American oak coming out of this one. Although when it comes to fodders, I think the biggest producers of fodders are actually in Europe. I think they're made in places like, you know, the Low Countries, Belgium, France, Netherlands. So yeah, you can smell a nice little bit of smoothness to the oak in there, which to me, I've always said American oak is a little bit more smooth and kind of sweet than European oak, if that makes sense. But they are different species of tree. It's not the same species of tree at all. So the oaky character in this one has a little bit of dryness like European oak, but I'm still getting quite a bit of smoothness in there. Teeny tiny little hint of vanilla as well, and you can certainly smell the influence of the white wine, definitely. But on top of that, there's like a really kind of crusty, bready character. Yeah, definitely some nice crusty bready notes in there. A little bit of cracker for sure. I can see on the bottle exactly why they say leather, to be honest with you, but it's like a very, very dry, musky kind of leather, to be honest with you. It's not like, you know, the sort of leathery, caramelised brown sugars that you can get in barley wines and stuff. It's quite a different type of leather you're getting out of this beer. So, yeah, the way this one goes together is quite, it's interesting. It's just a completely different aroma makeup to what we normally have from other beers. And, you know, wild ales and sour beers, I do need to explore these a bit more on the channel, actually. But yeah, these things are very, very nice. But yeah, on top of the kind of bread crusty and crackery character, you get a little bit more of a kind of fluffy brown bread in there. There's a wee bit of a more, you get the peppercorns kind of mixing in with that. And then on top of that, there's little bits of like butter candy, butterscotch. There are wee elements of kind of brown sugar in there, little elements of toffee and stuff. Yeah, it's really interesting. But like I say, more and more peppercorn coming out of this beer, the more that I smell it. That's the thing that really starts to jump out the glass at you. Yeah, interesting stuff. So, I think that covers what we need to say about the kind of malty and woody side of the beer. With the hoppy side of things, as I've always said, when it comes to sour beers, I think it's interesting to ask brewers what their mentality with hopping is. I mean, for example, if we take some of the modern sour beer breweries, In Sweden, for example, quite a lot of them don't like to use hops because they feel that it takes away from the sour side of the beer. And if you go to some of the classic Belgian sour beer breweries, they used to use old hops so that it didn't detract from the bitterness. So yeah, if you go to breweries like Vault City at home in Scotland, they like to use a little bit of hop in the sour beers because they feel it gives the beer a little bit more depth. So there's quite a few approaches you can take to hopping with your sour beers, but generally speaking, if you use fresh hops with a sour beer, it's going to take away, it's going to detract a little bit from the kind of sour side of the beer. So it depends what you want to do, to be honest. This beer, for me, you can smell that this one has a little bit of hop in it, and it smells like it's something along the lines of, like, you know, it's something a bit noble, you know, German Hallertauer, Tettnanger, Czech Sats, maybe Slovenian Styrian Goldings, or, you know, something like that. I feel that's what we're getting in this one. But on the hoppy side of things, there's a little bit of smooth earthiness, there's a little bit of herbal character, wee touch of floral aromaticity, and quite a bright grassiness. If I was tempted to say anything about what noble hop it would be, I think it's probably Hallertau or Tettnanger. I think it's German hops that they've used in this one, to be honest with you. The brightness of the grass is quite nice. Yeah, so I like that about this one for sure. The hoppy character just adds a wee bit more depth to it. Now, on the fruity side of things, the lemon peel, I have to say, you kind of get it, but I don't think it's overly obvious, to be honest with you. I don't find the lemon peel notes overly pungent in this one, but you can certainly get that little bit of lemony, citrusy tartness coming out of the beer. So, yeah, the way that goes together is really quite nice. So yeah, nice lemony tartness in this one. It's actually quite juicy as well, and you've got wee elements of kind of like sultana and maybe a slightly peary note. I also get a wee touch of gooseberry out of this one too. But aroma-wise, this is definitely one of the quirkiest beers. The peppercorns, really. I mean, I've never really realised how much I like the smell of peppercorns, but yeah, maybe I found a new love, you never know. But the peppercorn smell on this one is absolutely lovely. Yeah, I think we've said everything we need to about the aroma of this beer, to be honest with you. I could sit and smell that all day, though. It's lovely. But as I always say, take a wee bit of time to ponder over the aroma. That's always half the experience with craft beers and whiskies and stuff like that. But I think it's about time that we taste this one. So yeah, this is the Foxy's Trot, a 7% wild ale, part of the Days of Being Wild series from Young Master and Wong, Chuk, if I'm remembering the area correctly, in Hong Kong. A wild ale with pink peppercorns, lemon, and then it's wine and barrel aged. So let's get stuck into this one. Sláinte, skål, cheers, Gambi. Yeah. Now, this thing is really quite interesting, I have to say. It's very, very smooth. And that whole muskiness that I was talking about in the aroma really carries over into the beer. And I think we're just drinking this one at a nice temperature as well, actually. Yeah. It's a very nice beer, this one. It's one of these ones where the complexity really kind of comes out in the aftertaste. This is one of these ones that you do need to just let, like I suspected it would be, you kind of need to just let it sit and evolve and show you its full colours, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm just going to say straight away, that's a lovely, lovely beer, this one. So it gets a big thumbs up from me. I have to admit, I would be very curious to try something from them as well that's a little bit more sort of classic, like a Heuse or something like this from Belgium. So yeah, it would be quite interesting to see them do something like that. They probably have, and I've just not come across it, obviously. But yeah, flavour-wise, this is very nice. So yeah, impressed with this one. So we need to look at more sour beers from these guys for sure. Yeah. So let's think about this one then. Where do we start? Middle third of your palate with this beer then. Backbone of the beer. we get this lovely, I would point out as well, this one is like a kind of more, it's almost quite savoury and almost quite dry and spicy kind of sour beer, wild ale. That's kind of where I would say this one lies. But let's look at the middle third of your palate. You've got that lovely kind of dry, woody backbone in there. Really, really like that. On top of that, as you move further forward on that middle third of your palate, you can feel there's a little bit of a kind of vanilla-y type quality out of this one. And the way that that goes together is really nice. So yeah, you've got that nice kind of dry, woody character. And there on top of that, little touch of vanilla. And I mean, the woody character for me is quite dry, so that makes me think it's more European oak in this one. So yeah, could be like a German Riesling barrel or something like that they've aged this one in. You never know. But on top of that, you can certainly feel a little bit of the white wine character coming out of this one. The wine itself isn't too dry and tart. It's a little bit more kind of juicy, to be honest with you. So yeah, the way that that goes together is also very, very nice. Yeah, I like that. So yeah, the woodiness is there. You've got the winey layers, and then you start to get like some of the bread crust and things. So for me, there's a little bit of like a brown bready bread crust coming out of the beer. On top of that, you've got a little bit of an almost kind of crackery note, and I feel the crackeriness comes out a little bit further forward on that middle third of your palate. Then you've got a wholemeal brown bready character. Yeah. Little touch of a wholemeal brown bready character coming out of this one as well. And within the brown bread, toward the front of that middle third of the palate, I would say that's where you get the peppercorns in this one actually. So yeah, the way that that goes together, I think, is very, very nice. So that gets a big thumbs up from me, I have to say. On top of that, on top of the kind of wholemeal brown bready layer, you can feel there is a little bit of that slightly more leathery, brown sugary note coming out of this one. I would say that you've almost got like a little circle in the middle of your palate. You have to remember that this beer is only 7%, so it's not madly heavy. You can get wild ales that are a lot heavier than this. So this one, you've just got that little circle in the middle of your palate. It's kind of a leathery, it's a sort of leathery Werther's Original type thing underneath it. So you've got that leathery kind of brown sugary thing. Then you've got a wee bit of sweeter, almost caramel note in the middle of that part of your tongue. But remember, the brown sugars usually cover up the alcohol content of the beer. So that's what's going on in this one, I would say. But yeah, that is pretty damn nice, I have to say. I do like how this kind of pieces together. Yeah. So, on the middle third of your palate, I think that's kind of everything we have to say, to be honest with you. But yeah, you get more and more peppercorny notes out of this one, the further into the aftertaste that you go. But that's the middle third of the palate. The back third of your palate then, so border region between middle third and back third of your palate, you get a little bit of a kind of brown bready build up in this one there. And the way that that goes together is pretty nice. So yeah, a bit of a light brown bready build up there. The base of that back third of your palate is a little bit more. The base of that the back third of your palate, you can feel, as I've always said, sweeter and juicier flavours come out further forward on the palate. The drier and more bitter flavours come out further back. So you can feel that the woody part of this beer on the back third of your palate is definitely drier. So you can feel that woody dryness there. You can also feel the wine kind of grapey notes above that. That's definitely there, and again, that's drier. You've got a bit of the kind of bread crust, I see Jacob's cream cracker, then the kind of dry bread crust, and above that you've got a really airy, kind of grainy, wholemeal, brown bready sort of thing, and then above everything else you've got that more woody, kind of woody, airy, farmhousey type character coming out of the beer. So yeah, the way everything goes together in this one is quite interesting. But yeah, definitely back third of the palate you can feel the flavour is taller, and then as you come further forward into the middle third of your palate, you can feel the flavour just kind of condenses down and squashes together that little bit more. So yeah, the way that everything goes together in this beer is pretty damn nice actually. The malty side of this beer is good, and the kind of dryness and peppercorny spice that you get with this really is quite unique and quite different. I've enjoyed that for sure. Let's look at the hoppy side of the beer then, and the kind of sour side of it. But I would point, I think I've said that already, this beer really isn't too sour, to be honest with you. So yeah, the whole meal, kind of brown bready notes in this, build a good bridge with the hoppy character, the wood as well. So in the back corners of the palate you've got a nice little bit of an earthy herbal sort of thing. So it's earthy at the back corners, then as you move further forward it gets gradually more herbal, and as you push toward the kind of front corners of your palate, it's definitely got more of a kind of floral aromatic sort of thing. But round the front curve of the tongue, absolutely, it's lighter and more grassy, and it's got a wee touch of zestiness to it as well. So yeah, the way that goes together is pretty nice actually, so that gets a thumbs up from me. Yeah, I like that with this one. Yeah, so like I say, around the front curve of the tongue, this beer lighter and grassy, a wee touch of zestiness to it as well. Obviously the longer you leave this beer, the longer the more the hoppy character is going to drop out of it, but this one it's still showing you a little bit of its green component just now. But yeah, a little bit of floral character on the front corners and a bit of lighter grassiness around the front curve of the tongue as well. But yeah, that is quite nice. So let's look at the front third of your palate and see what we have there. So the border region between front third and middle third of your palate, you get a nice little bit of bready build up there once again, kind of a brown crusty bread. The base of that front third of your palate is, again, you've got the woody dryness in there, a bit of the cracker, a bit of the bread crust, the peppercorny spice is kind of coming out too. And above that you get that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters from the hops make their way out of the beer. So at the back of that front third of your palate there's a little touch of sultana, you know, dry white green grapes. You get a little bit of an oily pear as you reach the middle of the front third of your palate. Then right on the tip of the tongue there's perhaps a wee tiny touch of like a fresh green apple or lime or something like that. But obviously one of the adjuncts they've put into this beer is the lime. Is like, sorry, not lime, the kind of lemon peel. It just says lemon, but I thought they'd said on in the blurb thing that it was lemon peel. But you can feel like it's a very subtle lemon in this one. I've always found that lemon is quite a pungent fruit, to be honest with you, but you really don't get so much of that in this one. It's actually quite, the lemony characters in this are quite subtle, which makes me think it's more lemon peel than straight up lemon. But whenever you add fruit into beer as an adjunct, it always suppresses a little bit of the green component of the beer, and you can feel some of the kind of more oily lemony characters just lingering on the edges of your tongue there, which is really quite interesting. So yeah, the lemony character you get in this one is quite nice. And usually with sour beers we would talk, with wild ales and sour beers we would talk about kind of impact flavours, but I don't think you really need to in this case, to be honest with you. Like, you take the beer in, you do get a little bit of sourness out of it, but you know, it really is quite kind of quite minimal, and it's more kind of like a very slight juiciness, just a tiny little bit of sour wild character in the beginning, then the whole beer mellows out and gives you these lovely woody, spicy, musky kind of flavours that we've got. Yeah, I really like how this beer goes together actually. It's a lovely one that's different. This is very unique. I mean, we say that after like nearly 3,800 beers. This is pretty damn unique, so I have to give, you know, I have to take my proverbial hat off to Young Master for giving me something that's a wee bit different after all this time. So I like that. Yeah, I think we can round off this review then with a wee look at the mouthfeel. Mouthfeel for me, it's pretty much right in the middle of the spectrum. Mid-bodied, potentially toward the lighter end of mid-bodied. The carbonation is very, very smooth. It's got quite a bit of dryness to it, this beer, particularly into the aftertaste, but a little bit of oiliness too. In terms of IBUs, I think, you know, this has got about 10 IBUs or something, but you could easily conflate IBU and dryness together in this beer. That would be quite easy to do. So yeah, quite easy to conflate those two together in this one. But the malt base, as we said, you've got the woody dryness in there, you've got a grainy bread crust, a smoother and fluffier white bready character in there, and then you've also got that, you've also just got a little bit of sweetness on top there, a bit of a drier sweetness. IBU, as we've said, yeah, about 10ish IBUs. But in fact, you do get a wee bit more bitterness out of this into the aftertaste. And then beyond that, you have a little bit more. You've got a little bit of fruitiness to this one. It's not an overly. It's really not a very sour beer, this one at all. But yeah, you get a nice little bit of a kind of oily, juicy fruit and a wee touch of tartness when you take it in. But yeah, I think that's everything we need to say about this one. This has been really cool to try, actually. So this one was the Foxy's Trot, part of the Days of Being Wild series, a 7% wild ale with pink peppercorn and lemon aged in wine barrels from Young Master in Wong, Chuk, if I'm remembering the place correctly, in Hong Kong. Really interesting beer, a bit of a longer review for you this one, but you know, that's everything I wanted to say about this beer. I like beers that make you think a little bit, and this beer has certainly done that. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Young Master Brewery as well. We will no doubt return to these guys again at some point in the fairly near future. But pardon me, check out this one if you can. Try some beers from their sour series, and do check out my good friend Luigi Corraduzza of Luigi Drinks. He'll probably be drinking these a little bit more regularly than I am here on the channel. But yeah, until then, Slange, Skål, cheers, check out Young Master, and of course Tamamura Honta and Shikakogen beer for sour beers. These guys are the two pioneers in Asia at the moment. Wild Wave in Korea are doing some very good things too. Forgot to mention them earlier. But Slange, Skål, cheers, see you guys in the next review.